Good afternoon. So I want to take just a quick moment. Thank you to absolutely everyone who is taking time out of their day to join our webinar. So we're going to go into driving business continuity, facing new challenges with new strategies. My name is Tiea Roper, and I'm one of the senior performance managers with VinSolutions. And I want to kind of start out by saying, it goes without saying that over the last several of weeks, right, we've all been kind of facing and presented with different challenges on many different levels, from personal to professional. And as a performance management team, we have been so fortunate to have the opportunity to partner with our dealers. And what we've been doing is helping them make some critical modifications within the CRM. As a result of that, what we had to do is we created a checklist that'll act as a guide and a reminder of things to consider as you're making some modifications in your VinSolutions or whatever CRM you might be using. Now, while these changes will impact the system, mainly from a software perspective and how it operates, when we think about it, it's actually way larger than that. And as an industry, I think you guys all would agree that we have an amazing opportunity in front of us. So just for instance, last week I was talking to one of my dealers, and he was coming back from delivering a vehicle to a customer. So he had driven several hours to go take this vehicle to this customer because they weren't open for normal operating businesses. And during that conversation, what he said to me is, Tiea, customers who buy right now, they're never going to go back to the way that, I personally would like them to do business. We kind of lose the ability to tell our customers, man, your presence is your leverage. When can you be here? But it presents an amazing opportunity. So the opportunity in front of us is, how can we equip ourselves as leaders and our team for the shift? And there is definitely going to be a shift. I'm imagining that you guys have all kind of noticed it on how we do everything, right? Buying your groceries and ordering your food. And if you're being super honest with yourself, it is amazing, right? I almost never consider to have to go back into a grocery store the same way, knowing that I can order it on an app and I can have someone bring it to me and they'll text me with any adjustments. And I'm actually willing to pay more to operate in that manner. So it's super exciting to see just how everything changes as we move forward. So as we spend the next 25 minutes together, what I'd ask you to do is simply reflect on your store, right? Identify how, as you guys move forward in your store, how can you align your internal dealership processes with your CRM? And if I can give you kind of a key takeaway at the very beginning, what we've got to look at is we have got to have the right employees communicating the right message to the right customers at the right time. And if you're not sure where to start, right, where do I go first? Or I've gotten started and I kind of don't know what to do next, connect with your performance manager. If you are not a VIN customer and you don't have a performance manager, reach out to me, right? Connect with me and we will get you connected with someone smart that can kind of look to see where you're at now and how we can help you move some things to the next step. So like everything else, we've got to have an agenda, right? What is our agenda? We're going to look at the employee adjustments, what that looks like now, maybe for you in your day-to-day business. System processes and modifications, just kind of a caveat there. It'll be a little techy. We'll look at how we can refine our management strategies. How can we manage our teams, whether they're remote or in the stores? Communicating with our customers. And then we're going to talk about our Back to Business initiative. And this Back to Business initiative does not mean that you are closed, right? Consider this time to think, I've got maybe a little bit more time, little quiet downtime that I can really revamp how I'm doing business so that when it comes time, I can roll up a very fresh new approach to what we're doing in our stores. So as you think of your employees, right, you guys probably had to make some very, very difficult decisions as it comes to our employees and the staff that we have and who we have operating. They're also probably operating in very different ways than they were 2 months ago. You may have some people that are working from home. I've got people that are in the store. As you're thinking through from a CRM perspective, what we want to know is, have you adjusted your system so that we've got the right people getting the right leads? A lot of my stores have managers that are now getting the leads first because they're making that first attempt. Make sure from a techie standpoint that you guys are getting all the alerts and the notifications to say, hey, you've got a customer who has reached out and they need some assistance. On the flip side, let's say that you've had to furlough some employees or move them into maybe they're not actually working. Well, as an employee, I would be super frustrated if I'm furloughed at home, but I'm still getting new lead alert notifications from VinSolutions. It would be something that I'd be like, man, for the love of God, turn that off. So as you're making some of those critical system adjustments, you want to make sure that they align with who do you have in your store. Setting them up into different buckets. So if I've got active employees as a manager, I want to be able to see my active list of employees because I need to be able to see, well, doggone it, Tiea Roper is supposed to be doing some work. How many calls, texts, and emails has she sent versus how many opportunities does she have and where is she working from? Same thing for any furloughed employees. We may not have removed them entirely from the system, but if they're not actively working, but they've got customers actively engaging with them and no one is watching those opportunities, well, then we're missing the opportunity to sell. So consider moving your teams into different buckets and different groups so that you can oversee them in a much easier fashion than maybe what you can see right now. Now, this is a little techie-ish, right? So your system settings. When you think of your dealer hours and employee hours, this impacts a couple different things in your system. If you are closed entirely, please don't go in and uncheck all those boxes. It makes our system freak out because just like us, we think, man, we're never supposed to be closed every day of every week. So it would continue to run the normal processes. Just adjust your hours, thinking through when do I want some automated messaging to be going out to my customers, and what do I want that messaging to look like? So go in and tweak your hours just a little bit so that it will change what is happening on an automated basis. Modify any security settings. So in VinSolutions, we have the ability to make it to where remote employees cannot access your system if they're not in the dealership. So if I've gone home and I've sat at my computer and I'm ready to get at it and I can't log in, man, I'm super frustrated. So go in and make sure that whoever should be working remotely has the tools that they need. The other thing is to roll call employees. So as I'm going through and working with my dealers, one of the things that I'd kind of forgotten to ask them is, what are you using at home when you're going through the system so that we can make sure that you have the right things coming to you? So if I'm using a tablet, maybe I need to have some of those reports auto emailed to me every day. Or if I'm using my iPhone, is it connecting the way that I need it to? So check with your people and understand when they are working remote, what kind of tools do they have in place? And if we set them up for success while they're not in the dealership. Last thing is going to be forwarding calls. When you think of how your customers are engaging with you at a time like this, they're making more phone calls than ever. So they're calling your dealership to see if you guys are open or closed or what's happening with service. And I've called several of my stores just returning their calls, and the phone just rings and rings and rings and rings. So make sure that your calls are being routed. And if I've got one person on deck that should be getting my sales calls, or if I've got no one on deck getting those sales calls, change your voicemail. Make sure that the voicemail is constantly letting your customers know in an emergency situation for service, here is who you can contact, or we're currently closed or we've got reduced business hours. Now, as we think through your process adjustments, this is a big one right now and moving forward. So we've got the ability in Vin, and I'm sure you have it across a CRM if you're not using Vin, to temporarily adjust your processes. So normal processes would say, hey, maybe I want my team to call, text, email twice a day for the next 300 days, because that's what we thought made sense maybe 2 months ago. Well, now in a scenario where my staff is reduced and customers, we probably don't need to pursue them as heavily, adjust your processes accordingly. And if you adjust it to where it's a temporary process, when things kind of normalize, we can delete that process. Everything will then go back to where it was intended to be. But what I'd also ask you to do during this time, as we talked about in the beginning, is look at your downtime. What can I change moving forward? How can I incorporate some of the things that I maybe had not incorporated into my process? And I can move forward and say, man, in my process, we didn't have nearly enough text messaging. And in my process, I really wasn't pushing my team to send photos or videos via text. Or in my conversation points, I wasn't really getting them in the mood for, hey, how much of this would you like to do before coming into the dealership? So we need to think through our messaging and say, does it really make sense? Also thinking through any automated messaging that was already there. So in your sold delivered follow-up, lease end of term, are we at risk of sending an email to a customer that says, hey, when can you be here? But we're not actually open for general business. So go in and spot check what you already have, but consider setting up a meeting with your performance manager to say, we'd like to change how we do our digital business moving forward. What are your thoughts? And we've got some example processes and templates that we would be happy to share with you. Now, communication, right? We're all kind of isolated in how we communicate. And I want to hit this from two different aspects. Communicating with your customers remains social, right? It is social all the way. As we think of what can I do in the CRM and emails and things like that, I mean, for all things good in the world, I haven't dropped into my own personal email account in the last 2 weeks because I don't want to see another coronavirus, hey, we've just restocked our hand sanitizer email. I just don't want to see it. So when I think of if I'm trying to figure out if my local Texas Roadhouse is open or any of the stores, I'm hitting their social media first. So I'm going to their website, I'm going to their Twitter account, I'm looking on Facebook to identify where are they at, because you can change these things on the fly. Update your Google and your website. So in your Google settings, you can have real-time updates. So if you need to close today, update that on Google and social media. Refrain from sending a big email blast to your database in the CRM. We want to use that for our one-to-one communications, our personal responses to those customers. And we want to reserve that email blast for something that's super exciting, like the promotions or things that we'll be having moving forward. On the flip side for our communication strategy, as I'm communicating with dealers who have teams that are working off site, what I would challenge you to think about is how are you communicating with them? Are you consistently having something where I'm setting up a Zoom meeting for my teams and we're going to keep some form of normalcy? Working from home is hard, right? So keeping focus while maybe I've got little ones running around and I don't really have an office set up at my home. But what I really need is the structure from my teams to say, hey guys, we're going to get on a call every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at these times. And we're going to do our sales meetings. And we're going to talk about the opportunities that you've had and the challenges that you've faced. And as a manager, how can I help? So make sure that your communication strategy is not just through your customers, but any people that you have working for you. How are you keeping up consistent communication with them in intervals that make sense? Think through what this looks like from a communication standpoint with your customers. And this goes for right now. And I think it's something that is going to carry us for now and forever. People are going to want to shop from home. I think I mentioned, man, I never want to go back to not having someone or having the opportunity to have my groceries delivered to me. If in 2 months I go to their website and they say, that was fun, but we're not going to do it anymore, I'm going to be like, are you kidding me? I totally need that. So as we think of what our online shopping experience looks like, does it have to be a formal digital retailing? Maybe, maybe not. But it simply just has to be something that we let our customers know that because this is over, the ability to communicate in this way is not. Your customers shop online, and we've always kind of said to them, thanks so much for starting the process online. Great job. Oh, by the way, when can you be here so we can start you over? Consider your process internally and get with your teams and create what is your digital road to the sale. We all know what our road to the sale looks like when they arrive, but what does it look like before they get here? Every single time. So does it look like they started online and then I identified where they were in the process? And in this instance, I've got my salesperson and he says, hey, is this the vehicle that you're looking at? And it's got a picture. My customer can say, yep, that's fine. So then I can move into, do I need to send over a desking proposal? And then I can continue that until I get to the point in which the customer says, okay, well, now I'm ready to come in and get behind the wheel of the vehicle. I wholeheartedly feel like now, as I'm spot checking CRMs and I'm working with our dealers, we can be more candid now than ever before. We have the ability to transform our business into being way more appointment centric because we have an excuse. Right? For your protection in mind, I'd like to set up a time and I'd like to reserve a slot for you to come in. What things would you like to iron out before you arrive? Is it important for you to experience the vehicle in person before we move forward? I think you'll find that a lot of customers will say, no, I don't need to experience it in person. It is my third Corolla. I just want to know what it's going to cost and how easy it is to get the job done. So think through your digital road to the sale, outline it with your teams so that they know what you expect of your online shoppers. Now, how do I manage this? There's a couple different things that we want to make sure that we shore up as far as my management strategies go. In VinSolutions, check your desk log. The desk log is going to be, if you're looking at your VinSolutions now and not at the webinar, the very top, you're going to have all of those little icons that'll tell you how many leads you've had today. I can click there. It's going to take me right into my desk log. But this is a running log of all of the opportunities, internet, phone, walk-in customers. And if you've got reduced lead volume as a leadership team member, I want to look at every one. I want to make sure that every single one of these got touched in a way that I think makes sense. I also want to identify from here, how many of these customers can I steer into my digital road to the sale so that I can remove the, hi, my name is Tiea, when can you be here? And I can move them into, can I do a little bit more of this transaction online? Your unanswered email and text replies report. This one is amazing because these are all of your customers who are proactively pursuing you. They are sending you emails and they are replying to your text messages. And it may be from new leads that have come in, but it may also be from some of the residual of the sold, delivered, follow-up, or lease end of term. If my lease was set to expire, man, I'm kind of freaked out. What am I supposed to do? Am I in trouble if I don't turn this in? And so they're actively pursuing and engaging with your teams. Make sure that in your insights, you're going in and checking that report. Another thing that this can be done is we can auto email this to you. So you can have this auto emailed if you're not in the store 3 times a day. But make sure and commit that every single day, this is going to be clean when you leave your dealership. And then your showroom visit log is also a huge one. I'm hearing from all of my dealers that have customers coming into the showroom. These customers are coming in to buy. So they're not coming in to get any doses of the coronavirus. They're coming in to really shore up an opportunity. Make sure that as a manager, you're touching every customer that came into your showroom that did not buy a car. What is expected as they leave, and how can we tag them to keep up with them a little bit later? So now we think of back to business, right? This is my back to business initiative. I'm super excited, and back to business will look very different for lots of different dealers. You may have never shut down, and things may have been pretty doggone normal, or I am reopening my doors. Know that when you reopen, or if you're going back to business on, let's just say, the 12th of April, don't expect to have hundreds of appointments waiting for you. So we've got to proactively engage these customers. If we haven't been working them while we're away, man, you opening back up is not just going to open up the floodgates. It's not going to go away. But what we do have is super exciting things to communicate to our customers. So we're open and ready to assist. This is the opportunity that we can send out some automated messaging to our customers. More than automated messaging, get your teams on the phone, right? So no campaigns and auto blasts work as well as your team getting on the phone and calling customers. Letting them know about the exciting things that are being offered, 0% financing, deferred payments, employee pricing or lease return promotions. There are lots of customers who are still in the market to buy a vehicle, and they're just waiting for you to reach out and say, hey, are you aware of our 0% for 84? So go ahead and utilize this time to send some one-to-one emails, but definitely get your team on the hook to make these calls. When I think of the opportunity checklist, there's some places that you guys can go right into VinSolutions and say, here are some trigger places for me. If you have our automotive intelligence, this is a dashboard that you certainly want to go in and make sure it's getting handled, right? You know that these customers have been shopping, they're sitting at home, they are considering buying a vehicle. Look at your automotive intelligence dashboard. If you don't have automotive intelligence, you do have a coaching dashboard. And our VinSolutions coaching dashboard for salespeople is amazing. If you are not aware of where that is or how your teams can find it, again, lean on your performance manager so that we can show you where that stuff is. But this is just a snapshot of one that I took, and I don't know if you can see it, but this dealer has 313 active customers without recent engagement, recent being two-way communication. I've got some customers that are in the market for a vehicle, and I've certainly just got to go in and let them know, hey, here is what we can do. What are your thoughts? Where are you in the buying cycle? We can also identify these customers by a lead status. So as we go in and kind of tag our customers either with a custom status of COVID-19 or maybe 2 weeks out or other ways that we can kind of frame out our lowest hanging fruit, we're going to go back and we're going to pull those reports so that we can target those active customers first. And then it goes without saying, something will fall through the cracks. All right, there's no kind of one size that's going to make sure we catch everything. Check your active without future follow-up. This is just going to be any customer who may have fallen through the cracks, and we want to get them back on board. We want to make sure that we're putting them into the right process, giving them the right messaging as we go forward. What you're going to end up doing is rolling back your processes. So if you put any temporary processes that says, hey, we're going to do reduced follow-up until some of these things subside or until I bring back my team entirely, take some moments and roll back that process. Hopefully you've spent some of this downtime to really take a good look at what are our processes. Is it really necessary to call, text, email 3 times a day for 345 days and never let anything move into a lost status? After you've revamped your processes, be ready to roll those out. And roll those out with what is your new connection strategy. We're going to call our customers. We're going to utilize text messaging now more than ever before. Our customers love to communicate via text. Make sure that texting is in your plan. These text messages should include photos and videos. That's just going to get me to recognize that it's not just a canned response, but you're showing me a walk around video. You're explaining to me how I can do business without actually having to be there, right? My presence is not my leverage. Utilize chat, and whatever kind of maybe web engagement that you may be doing at your store, but go ahead and roll out those connection strategies for your team, or what I would consider to be your updated digital road to the sale. So we're going to kind of wrap everything up with an action plan. First and foremost, schedule a meeting with your performance manager. As the performance management team, we are here fully staffed and ready to support our dealers in their efforts. So if you're truly not concerned about, hey, where do I go next, and how do I revamp my processes and my templates and start putting these things into play, get with your performance manager. And again, if you don't have one, please reach out to me and we'll connect you with someone smart. Review and update your customer engagement strategy. We probably haven't looked at it since we implemented it maybe 1 year ago or 3 years ago. And candidly, we should change how we connect with our customers, or look at it at least every 6 months. Every 6 months, we should be looking at it. Are we connecting with customers the way that they want to be connected with? Roll out your new accountability for your teams and your sales strategy. You're going to execute, you're going to review, and then, of course, we're probably going to have to revise. And if I had to kind of give you maybe one kind of nugget to finish this all out, is one of my dealers was telling me, hey, he challenged his team to say, if we knew that this very thing was going to happen. So last year we knew that this was going to happen and it was going to kind of knock us out of our square. What would we have done to prepare, right? What would we have tightened up? And as a manager, would I've gotten better at utilizing my CRM? Would I've known without a doubt where I could go in and identify if my team was on track or off track, or coached my team a little bit better or a little more, held more sales meetings? What would I have done to make sure that this didn't maybe cause as much of a bump as it did? And then take those things and start putting them into play. I'd really like to thank you again for your time. I certainly hope that this was helpful. We're going to email you guys out a copy of that checklist that we put together. If you find that you guys have comments, questions, concerns, or even feedback, please don't hesitate to reach out, or someone from our performance management team. And I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the day. Thanks so much.